Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those of you watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Appreciate those of you who have subscribed. Thank you very much. And today we're talking about Ron Howard's movie Gung Ho, starring Michael Keaton. Hollywood, for some reason, don't make movies like this these days. I know you're probably tired of people saying that, but I feel like when you see a Hollywood movie these days, it's always about the upper class, people in the big cities, office jobs, white collar jobs in general. You never see any blue collar jobs or people, your average blue collar worker. You just don't see that in the movies anymore. And if I had to take a guess here, why we don't see that is because these Hollywood writers are probably always going to these elite colleges like USC or something like that. Probably come up from the upper class. They just don't know what it's like to be a blue collar worker, what a blue collar family is like. And that's probably why they don't write the movies like this these days. And the few that do come out, they're just so out of touch with what your average day person goes through. But, in the 80s and pretty much in the 90s too, you still had these type of movies. And this is what Gung Ho is about. It's about your blue collar worker and working in a factory and what it's like when another company takes over, or another company, company takes over the factory and the changes they go through, and that good stuff, and also the difference in cultures. So Gung Ho, what this is about is your basically a Midwestern town. I guess if you call Pennsylvania, is Pennsylvania considered Midwest or East Coast? I don't know. But you have this town in Pennsylvania. They had a factory there that practically hired the whole town. A couple of years, 2 years ago, 2 years has passed, and the factory shut down. So you have this whole community looking for jobs. You got people moving out because there's no jobs in the community. It's basically the Rust Belts. What the Rust Belt went through in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s. It's going on in this one. So the city wants to go overseas, to go to Japan to try to get a Japanese company to invest in this factory and then rehire the people of the city. And that's just basically what happens. The major conflict in this movie is the cultural differences between the Japanese and Americans, how the Japanese run businesses, run the factory, and how Americans run the factory. Japanese is all about statistical data, what is the most efficient way, very, I don't know, like I said, kind of like if you're a sports fan, and you had like baseball, how baseball's all analytics now, and back then, it was just the coaches, you always had your best hitter number one, your second best hitter number two, then, a power hitter at number three that can hit for power and average, stuff like that, but now it's all analytics. Okay, it's kind of baseball, basketball, I guess now is run that way. NFL is starting to be run that way as well. So that's how the Japanese runs their factory, and Americans are not really used to that. Then they bring also some of their culture, whatever, over here. I can't say the word, sorry, over here. So they expect everybody to do their stretches at the beginning before they do the workforce. And Americans are laughing at them. I think in that regard, the Japanese won because my main gig in my life is I work at a factory, watch movies on the side, do YouTube videos on the side just for fun. That's why I don't really care if anybody subscribes or not, and that's why I don't really put the much time as your professional YouTubers in, because I'm just doing this for fun, But before we start our shift, we're out there doing stretches, and doing this stuff, and we're not doing jumping jacks like they do on this one, but we are doing exercises before we do our shift. And also, this movie was credited so well that Toyota, when this movie came out, used it as a training video for their executives on how not to handle their American employees. So, it does have that great thing going on for it. And so, the movie really does show the different cultures of Japanese and American. Even when it comes to baseball, they got a little softball game going on in here, and the Japanese are all bunting. Who in the world bunts in softball? But, these guys are bunting because it's more efficient. That's how they're getting on base. And then when the Americans suck in to get the bunts, and then they start swinging away. And so, and then when the Americans get up the bat, they're going for the fence every time. They're trying to hit the ball as far and hard as they possibly can, while the Japanese are just trying to hit in certain holes. So you do get this conflict between each other. George Wendt there, a good old Norman from Cheers is in this movie. And his character could come across a little racist against the Japanese because he's the one who's always kind of picking on the Japanese. But if you watch the movie more closely, it's not so much that he's racist against the Japanese, is that they've actually kind of were picking on him a little bit. Like he's like a welder and he's not welding the cars in the right areas like the Japanese wanted him to. He's kind of like, macho American, like we can do it better than you guys. It kind of looks down on the Japanese and their Japanese culture. And eventually they kind of make him the janitor of the factory. So he's the one American dude that's going around bullying everybody of the Japanese. He, for the softball game, he runs over the Japanese person trying to catch the ball. And then in the grocery store, the boss's wife is trying to get items off the shelf and she keeps blocking him. So he kind of come off racist, and I guess in a way he is at least prejudiced. But he also got to understand as well that he's kind of feels like he's being treated unfairly at the factory as well. And then Michael Keaton pulls off a very good performance in this movie. He does shine. He makes the movie. He is the star. I guess other people that wanted to be in this movie was Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy. I don't know about Bill Murray, but I could see Eddie Murphy in this role. But having said that, Michael Keaton definitely nails this role. And his character is kind of put in this impossible position. He's kind of like the alliance. He's like the go-between person there between the factory workers and the bosses, the executives who are all Japanese. He's the one that's trying to get to mesh everything together, trying to get the Americans to adapt to the Japanese way of working and trying to get the Japanese to adapt to the way Americans think. Japanese in this movie are all about the business, the factory, the company is your number one priority. You put that above everything else. And, Americans are still like this today. For me, the company's number 2 and my family's number 1. I'm going to do more things for the family. I'm going to do for the company. If there's something that has to happen at home, I'm going to call that day off, call sick to get it done because home life is more important. So you do got those conflicts, and Michael Keaton's character, he's trying to get everybody to mesh together. Of course, what brings them together is the threat that everybody's going to lose their jobs from the headquarters over in Japan, and then they get to work together. They got to make so many cars in a month, and first that's kind of problems, but eventually to get together. Looking at my notes, see if there's anything else I would like to add. Swimming in the river, yeah. So there's differences. This is just examples I had in my notes about the differences in culture. Overall, I recommend Gung Ho, especially it's a good blue collar movie. Got something in my throat here. Excuse me. Shake up some juice. It is a great presentation of what factory life is like. The way that factory workers think. And sometimes the disagreements between your people on the factory floor and the people in the offices, that conflict, it goes on today, even when everybody's American. Like I said, I work in a factory now, and it's owned by an American company, and we still got, some things like, those guys in the factory don't know what they're talking about, in the office don't know what they're talking about, and stuff like that, and going back and forth. So it's just your average day problems that you have working in a factory. I love this movie because of that. I get tired of watching Hollywood movies. They're always about big cities, New York, Los Angeles, white collar jobs, sure, it's great for people of white collar, but your grassroots people here in middle America, where I'm from, we got other problems that we can relate to. That I don't really relate to these white collar peoples very much, and obviously the people who are writing these movies, they don't know how to write your common man man's occupation. They always make these people in the middle of the country who are not out there on the coast look dumb, uneducated, backwards and stuff. Which is fine, but I believe that Gung Ho does a good job of representing your blue collar worker, middle America, even though it's in Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's considered Midwest or East Coast. I can see kind of halfway because Philadelphia and that stuff's closer to the coast, but then you get to the western part or Pennsylvania probably relate to more to like people from Ohio. But anyways, have you seen Gung Ho? Did you like it? If you do dislike it, I'm gonna recommend it. Check it out if you've never checked it out before, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. And until next time, bye.